Hello everyone, Keir Smith here, back with another video, and for today's video I thought I'd start another series that I'll dip in and out of, which I'll call the solo album. And specifically we're going to be looking at that first solo album where the band you love breaks up and the main member starts a new solo career. And for today's video we're going to be looking at that first solo album by Morrissey, Viva Hate. I've always been really interested to hear what comes next after that great band breaks up. And in this case, when the Smiths broke up, Morrissey had a lot to live up to. And when you approach these solo albums, you ask yourself the question, is it going to be as good as the band? Is it going to be any good at all? But Morrissey is much too good an artist, much too good a lyricist to just simply fade away. But it was actually producer Stephen Street, who had worked with the Smiths on their final album, Strange Ways Here We Come, that started the ball rolling for the recording of Viva Hate. After guitarist Johnny Marr had quit the Smiths, Stephen Street had contacted Morrissey about potentially using some backing tracks for future Smiths B-sides. But Morrissey wrote back to Stephen Street and said that he'd done with the Smiths, and could these backing tracks be used for solo material and potentially an album. And so Stephen Street and Morrissey got together and wrote all 12 songs that you hear on the original album of Viva Hate, and along with Andrew Parisi on drums and Vinnie Riley on guitars and keyboards, Stephen Street played bass and guitars. And of course you have Morrissey, the lyricist, the vocalist. That was the band that made up the recordings for Viva Hate. And Viva Hate was written and recorded relatively quickly. It arrived in March 1988, just 6 months after that final Smiths album, Strange Ways Here We Come. But the big question was Viva Hate going to be any good? Could it possibly live up to the Smiths? Well, I'll tell you. And so I'll take you through each of the 12 tracks on Viva Hate, and I'll tell you what I think's good and what's not. Well, the album starts with the song Alsatian Cousin, which comes in with some screeching, squalling guitars, some pounding drums and a pulsating bass, and it doesn't really sound like the Smiths at all, which I think is a good thing. And this is like a cryptic drama. Morrissey's lyrics are fantastic as always, and his vocals very impressive. Were you and he lovers? And if you were, then say that you were. On a ground sheet under canvas with your tent flap open wide. And Morrissey does some impressive yodeling on this track, which I'm always a fan of, but it's the music here that really stands out. It's loud, aggressive, engaging, and I think Alsatian Cousin is a great track and a great opener for the album. The second track on the album is Little Man What Now, which Morrissey could well have borrowed the title from the 1934 film of the same name. And the track more or less hangs on this heavy, pounding, constant drum machine that drives through the song. And Morrissey sings about a young actor, too old to be a child star, too young to take lead, 4 seasons passed and they axed you. And I've read that this could well be about the young 60s actor Malcolm McPhee, who played the character Peter Craven in the comedy Please Sir, and he was axed after 4 seasons on the programme. Musically it's a slight track, but it's short and sweet at under 2 minutes and I like it. Up next is a Morrissey classic, the second single to be released from Viva Hate, the brilliant Every Day Is Like Sunday, where Morrissey rejoices in the mundane. It's drenched in melancholy, and Morrissey's brilliant lyrics paint this rather dull but uplifting picture, trudging slowly over wet sand back to the bench where your clothes were stolen. But the beautiful orchestration along with those big drums really give the song lift as it enters that winning chorus. Every day is like Sunday. Every day is silent and grey. Quite simply, it's one of those wonderful juxtaposes where something so miserable sounds so uplifting and euphoric. It's a firm favourite among Morrissey fans, and one that we all rejoice in and sing along to at the top of our voices when we see him live. Up next is Bengalian Platforms, which back in the day caused a bit of a stir and put Morrissey under the spotlight for potential racial slurs. Now, I don't know, you can read a lot into Morrissey's lyrics, and as serious an artist as he is, he's also very witty and very funny, and read into it what you will. Here Morrissey sings of someone who only wants to embrace your culture and be your friend forever and ever. He later sings, life is hard enough when you belong here. But musically it's a good track. It's played over a sprightly acoustic guitar with some lovely lead guitar lines, and a song I've always liked. Up next is an album highlight for me, the wonderful Angel Angel, Down We Go Together. No other instruments are used on the track, just this wonderful orchestration, violins, cello, etc. And it's the perfect, beautiful backdrop for this rather serious lyric by Morrissey. Angel, don't take your life. Some people have got no pride. They do not understand the urgency of life, but I love you more than life. It's very dramatic, but all the more brilliant for that. Again, short and sweet here at around 2 minutes, but absolute perfection. And from the short and sweet, we then get the long and maudlin with Late Night on Magdalen Street. Morrissey said that he wanted something that sounded like Joni Mitchell, so Stephen Street went away and drew inspiration from Joni's album The Hissing of Summer Lawns and came back with this song. But it's a bit of a dirge. It doesn't really change and just trudges on slowly. Morrissey laments leaving home and complains about everything from having 16 stitches all around his head to his ugly frame. His opinion, not mine. It's okay, I can still enjoy it. The programmed drum machine is a little bit dull, but the acoustic guitar's nice and it has some nice piano flourishes through it. But at nearly 8 minutes, it does drag on a bit, and probably therefore one of the weaker songs on the album for me. And if you're listening on vinyl, good for you. I must get myself an original copy of this on vinyl sometime soon, but Late Night Magdalen Street closes side 1 of the record. And side 2 opens with the lead-off single for the album, the brilliant, the magnificent, a top 5 Morrissey solo song for me, Suede Head. What a great single and a great song. What a first track to come out with after the Smiths. And my best friend Gabba, who was fortunate enough to see the Smiths live twice, as he reminds us all the time, was quick to rush his money out to the record store when Suede Head was released, and he always says, yeah, the Smiths broke up, but Suede Head, wow, I mean, what's all the fuss about? This is brilliant. I love the way the drums kickstart the track and then you hear that wonderful, piercing lead guitar, the rhythm of the jangly piano in the verses, and Stephen Street's bouncy bass line is superb. And the way Morrissey sings I'm So Sorry in the chorus, it has a real yearning quality to it, so expressive. The strings are beautifully arranged again and I love the outro. Now, does Morrissey sing It Was a Good Lay? Either way, an absolutely brilliant song, perfection, 10 out of 10, the best song on the album. Up next is the subtly melodic Break Up the Family, which has that interesting ticking percussive sound that runs through the track, as well as some really nice lead guitar lines and some tidy drum fills too. You say, break up the family and let's begin to live our lives. Was it about the Smiths? Who knows? And this song contains one of my favourite Morrissey lyrics, home late, full of hate, despise the ties that bind. Very enjoyable, a very well written song and a quiet gem, not just on this album but in the Morrissey solo canon. Up next is the song The Ordinary Boys. Ordinary boys, happy knowing nothing, happy being no one but themselves. Ordinary girls, supermarket clothing, who think it's very clever to be cruel to you. And this is a really nice piano-led track with a slow drum beat, but Stephen Street once again excels on bass here with some cool bass lines. And up next is the wonderful, reckless abandon of I Don't Mind If You Forget Me. And musically it seems to pick up where Alsatian Cousin left off with its loud, heavy drums and screeching guitar sound and that pulsing bass. And Morrissey sounds as happy as Larry. It's so buoyant and infectious. No, really. Not words that you'd normally associate with Morrissey, of course, but it really is. And it has that sizzling, fast guitar solo. Superb. And again, we have another great Morrissey lyric. Rejection is one thing, but rejection from a fool is cruel. Yeah, I love I Don't Mind If You Forget Me. Another album highlight for me. Dial a Cliche is the penultimate track on the album, and musically this is a nice arrangement with its soft drums and acoustic guitar and bright lead guitar lines. And lyrically it's very good too, as Morrissey bemoans that macho man who tells us to grow up, be a man and close your mealy mouth. Dial a Cliche. And I love that lyric where Morrissey sings, and you find that you've organised your feelings for people that didn't like you then and do not like you now. Dial a Cliche is good, but not as good as the four before it, but good nonetheless. And so the album closes with The Shock Factor, Margaret on a Guillotine. Margaret being Margaret Thatcher, the then Prime Minister. The languid acoustic guitar offers a slight melody, but is befitting of Morrissey's tired vocal. He sings, the kind people have a dream, Margaret on a guillotine. Now, depending on what side of the political fence that you sit on, Margaret Thatcher back in 1988 was not a very well liked person. and Morrissey takes full advantage of that as he sings "When Will You Die?" over and over again. He later sings "Please Die." But regardless of the subject matter, there's a long, beautiful Spanish guitar solo that plays the song out before the song ends with the sound of that screeching guillotine coming down. And I can imagine Morrissey's glee at the sound of that and thinking, yeah, that's the way to close the album. And it does. Viva Hate certainly has a different sound to that of the Smiths. The guitars here are more rhythmic with their melodies. The bass and drums are less busy, but for a few tracks, but still interesting. And I think that Morrissey's vocals here are very expressive and very enjoyable, and his lyrics, as I've quoted a few times, are fantastic throughout. He's lost none of that wonderful wit in his writing. And the album was a roaring success. Top 10, as well as the 2 top 10 singles with Suede Head and Every Day's Like Sunday. And personally, I think that Viva Hate is a really impressive album and a great start to Morrissey's solo career. Of course, there's some lesser moments on the album, but the album's highlights are many. So the Smiths were gone and have remained so, but long live Morrissey. I'd go as far to say that Viva Hate is one of Morrissey's top 3 solo albums. I think it's that good. But what do you think? Where do you rank this in Morrissey's solo back catalogue? Please leave your thoughts in the comments section below. And as always, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you for my next video sometime soon. Until then, bye for now.